All right, let's jump right in. If you run a brokerage or lead a team, you know this feeling all too well. You work so hard to get great agents in the front door, and then you watch them quietly slip out the back a year or two later. It's frustrating, it's expensive, and today we're going to talk about how to fix it. And we're going to do that by tackling the real problem. I mean, does this feel familiar? It's this cycle that just seems to plague so many in our industry. You recruit, you onboard, and just when an agent starts to get their sea legs, poof, they're gone. And you're left there scratching your head wondering what went wrong, and then you have to start the whole thing all over again. It's kind of like an iceberg. We spend all our time reacting to the stuff we can see, right? The symptoms. An agent asks for a higher split, so okay, you give it to them. Someone mentions a competitor's shiny new CRM, so we go shopping for tech. But those are just band-aids. The actual cause, the thing that's really sinking the ship, is lurking below the surface. It's about gaps in your leadership, a total lack of clarity for your agents, and a culture that just isn't built to make people want to stay. And here it is. This one quote from Verl Workman just reframes the whole conversation. Agent churn isn't just some random cost of doing business. No way. It's a direct reflection of leadership and the systems you either have, or more likely, don't have, in place. So let's start with the first big piece of the puzzle, creating systems that give your agents absolute clarity. This is all about closing that massive gap between what you promise when you're trying to hire them and what they actually experience day in and day out. I just love this line. Think about it. Think about all the energy you pour into recruiting someone, the constant calls, the focus on their goals, painting this big, beautiful vision of the future. Why on earth does that stop the minute they sign on the dotted line? The real magic is turning that recruiting spark into a long-burning fire. And here's what that looks like in the real world. It's not rocket science, but it absolutely requires you to be intentional. Regular check-ins that are about more than just the numbers, setting production goals with them so they have a clear target to aim for, and having real ongoing conversations about where they're headed in their career. When an agent feels seen and supported like this, they just don't have a reason to even look around. One of the biggest, quietest killers of agent retention is burnout. And this missing persons report exercise is a fantastic tool to fight it. You literally sit down and map out every single administrative task, from paperwork to marketing busy work, all of it. And as you go down that list, you have to ask that super important question. The whole goal here is to build support systems that free up your agents to do what they do best, the high-value stuff that actually produces income. And that's the bottom line. It really is that simple. When you get rid of all that administrative friction and help them focus, you're not just stopping them from burning out. You're creating the perfect environment for them to grow. And agents who are growing, well, they don't leave. Okay, on to our second pillar, and this one is huge: confidence. This is a massive driver of churn that people just don't talk about enough. When the market gets a little shaky or an agent has a couple of slow months, it's not disloyalty that pushes them out the door. It's fear, a fear that comes from pure uncertainty. And this is where great leadership really shines. Your job is to create what we call income clarity. When an agent has a proven system they can actually trust, a repeatable process for getting leads, for nurturing their pipeline, they can see a clear, predictable path forward. And that predictability, that clarity, that's what builds unshakable commitment. And that clarity, it comes from having the right skills. This is about providing real, relevant training in the areas that make the biggest difference. We're not talking about motivational fluff here. We're talking about tactical skills, how to build relationships, how to have disciplined follow-up, how to master a presentation. This is what turns a nervous agent into a confident powerhouse. And that's the payoff, right there. Forget the signing bonuses and the fancy perks for a minute. Real coaching, real skill development, that's what builds the kind of confidence an agent needs to get through any market. Confident agents don't just stay with you, they thrive with you. Which brings us to our third and final pillar, building a culture that is designed for retention. And guess what? This starts way before an agent's first day. It starts with how you hire. Here's another powerful one. We've all been guilty of making opportunity hires, right? You bring someone on because you're desperate for another body, not because they're a perfect long-term fit for your culture. Well, that almost always ends in a quick exit. A deliberate, thoughtful hiring process is your #1 retention tool. So what does hiring slow actually look like? Well, it starts with this foundation. You've got to create a crystal clear avatar of who your ideal agent is. Before you even think about posting a job, you need to know exactly the skills, the mindset, and the values of the person who is going to thrive in your world for the long haul. That sets the stage for everything else. Now, here's the thing. Even if you hire the absolute perfect person, they will eventually leave if they can't see a future for themselves with you. This might be the most critical piece of long-term retention. A bigger commission check is just a temporary fix. A compelling vision for their future, that's a permanent anchor. Agents have to see that there's a path for them that goes beyond just selling more houses next year. And as a leader, it's your job to help them map that out. Can they become a partner someday? Could they become a mentor for the new agents coming in? Can't they build their own team under your umbrella? Or maybe get involved in expansion or real estate investing? These are tangible growth paths. They give agents a powerful reason to stay and build with you. So when you build out those growth paths, you're building a foundation for the future. And that really brings us to the main idea of this whole explainer. You have to fix the system, not the symptoms. As we've seen, just throwing money or new tech at your Churn problem is like putting a tiny Band-Aid on a gaping wound. At the end of the day, retention just becomes a natural, easy byproduct when you systematically address these 4 core needs for every single agent. They need clarity in their role, they need confidence in their skills, they need a culture that they actually feel like they belong to, and they need a vision for their future. When you build your leadership systems around these 4 things, you stop having to worry about retention. It just happens. So if you only remember one thing from all this, make it this. If you have a Churn problem, you don't have a loyalty problem. You don't have a compensation problem. You have a leadership systems issue. And the really good news? That's something you have complete and total control over. And that's the question I really want to leave you with. Take a hard, honest look at your brokerage. Are your processes, your communication, your entire culture, are they all designed with the same intention to keep agents as you used to attract them? Because when you finally fix that, that is the key to closing that back door for good.